I told myself I'd never own a black car ever again, and yet here I am with this thing.
Welcome to episode 2. We've made it this far. Thank you for your support. Here in Ontario, the government is talking about easing up a bit on the restrictions. It's early days, nothing's happened yet. I think they really feel for some of the small businesses that aren't essential, but are having a tough time being completely shut. And they're going to sort of let some of them who can safely open. Good for them. No car events or get-togethers, I don't think, for some time. No, just sort of public gatherings. So stay safe, stay in, and support your local businesses, okay? So what you can do to help. I did find the time in the last couple of weeks to put my car back together. I have an Audi TT, a 2002. And it hasn't had much of a test yet. Most of what I did was just pulling hoses and this and that and everything off in the engine compartment, cleaning that up. It does idle, so that's good. We'll have to see what it's like out on the road. That'll be in days to come. This episode, we're off to Northern Toronto to meet up with a remarkable race car driver, senior tech mechanic, shop foreman, I believe, at one of the FAF dealerships, the Audi dealership. And he has just this crazy vintage race car that he runs all the time. His stories are very interesting. He takes us around the car and his shop, and an interesting visit with him. You'll want to see that if you're a vintage car fan, vintage Audi Quattro fan. And then we're back down to the US again. Visit with one of my fellow board members. She actually works in the marketing group at APR. Talks a little bit about her cars, her fiance's car, and her likes and dislikes and those sorts of things. Interesting chat. She is putting up the prize, the door prize this week. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. And third car, three cars this week. Third car is a bit of a surprise. I'm not going to give that one away just yet. And yeah, so enjoy, watch. Your comments are welcome. If you're interested in being one of the guests and showing your car, the email is in the YouTube information down below here. And hope to hear from you. Thanks. Enjoy. So as I was saying, first up is a rather interesting car and individual. Perry is one of the longest serving members of the Audi Club of North America here in Canada. He joined in 1998. And I'm going to let him tell you about his car, and you can have a look at the shop too. It's pretty impressive. It is pretty impressive. Over to you, Perry.
Perry Mason here, HJFAF Audi. I've been with them 28 years now, so I've been working on Audis a long time, back when a car like what's in front of you here was current. And right now it's a historical vehicle, so I have a lot of fun with it that way. But I've been wrenching, like I say, for my whole life, but my passion is this car and racing. I grew up around racing. And this little baby here is a 1981 Coupe GT historic race car. And it's based on the European Touring Car Series FIA Group 2. And that's what this bodywork and everything you can see is based on. And it's actually from those cars. It's the real stuff. And the rest of the car I basically recreated because there was only a handful of those cars. If you've seen any of the history of them, the museum has most of the vehicles in their possession. And there's only a couple of guys in the world that actually have cars similar to this to race. I'm the only one in North America racing a car of this configuration. other than the guys that have rally cars, which is a whole different deal. But this is front wheel drive, and that's before the Quattro was even out back when they had these. And that's where they got their modern era kind of start in racing, was with the touring cars. But anyway, what you see here is competing in VARAC, which is the Vintage Auto Racing Association of Canada, and I'm currently a 4-time champion. We won the overall championship 2 seasons ago, and we've got 4 class championships and a group championship. So we've done pretty well with it, and getting close to 50 race wins with this car. A lot of miles on it on the track, and I'll show you around it a little bit. It's basically a gutted Coupe GT, fully caged, to meet all the rules that is required for CASC and for VARAC. You know, it's got to have the fire system in it, the roll bars, everything, safety net, everything is dated, has to be current. Seatbelt system, the fire system is an onboard system where you can just pull the plunger there and it sets off the foam, and you're basically swimming, but you're not burning. And luckily I haven't had to use any of that. We're running 12-gallon fuel cell from ATL in the back. It's kind of hard to see, and storage in there right now. Windows are Lexan in the side and then the rear. And the plaid on the car, which you can see, is basically what our factory company team, I guess I should say, Porsche, is using in the IMSA WeatherTech series. So we put that on at the end of last season to kind of honor their success, and it's stuck, and they want me to keep it on. And we've even got our own hashtag now that some of the fans have come up with, you know, just simply plaid Audi. So that's kind of cool. I was flattered about that. So we have a lot of followers and fans with this car, which is so unique. It's got CCW wheels, if you've ever heard of those. They've been around for a while, but they were the company that was willing to help me create a wheel that would fit on this car, because it's kind of interesting to make something fit with these flares. So they're 16x9, and I'm using Audi 100 rear disc brakes from the early days, but I have Corrado G60 front rotors, which are readily available and cheap. So they're 11 inches by 1, and a Willwood caliper that I've modified to work on this car with special bracketry, which I fabricated myself. It really stops like you wouldn't believe. Carbon fiber pads. Like the whole rotating weight is nothing on this. Pretty good that way. The front, you can see, is pretty flat and quite the air grabber, but it pushes a lot of air through there. So the intercooler is down here on the bottom right side of the car, and the radiator gets all of its air through this area here. I'll just pop the hood. So basically, ooh, what happened there? There we go. This looked like your typical early body coupe. Nothing too fancy, but everything's been beefed up and modified for racing. You know, there isn't a bushing or anything in the car that's not rubber or aluminum or Delrin. Or it isn't rubber anymore. It's aluminum and Delrin is what I should say. The radiator's made by Griffin. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a really nice custom piece that they made for me. Big, nice, thick rad. That's before you could even buy one from anybody. Now I think Colt 34 has that stuff. So I've had that a long time in there. The transmission is a stock Coupe GT transmission, but here's an example, because this is a spare I have for the car. And it's all reworked with Audi Sport gears. I had them custom made in Germany by a fellow named Herman Oberlach, who has a shop over there, and he basically will build you gears for any vehicle on spec. and he specializes in vintage racing. So I did some research, and I found out that one of the fellas over there that still plays with these cars, Marcus Nothal, he uses him, and his father was an original Audi Sport technician from the 70s, and they've stayed connected. And he set me up with this guy, and I'm telling you, what a difference. Straight cut gears, super strong, super expensive, but no failures. So that's what the transmission looks like. It doesn't weigh anything, and it's simple. And I'm building a spare engine for this car right now, which is a 2.2 MC code from the early days, but it's basically brand new top to bottom. Been collecting parts for a while. And still got a few things to do on it. It could literally be dumped in the car right now if I had a problem, but I'm building this one a little bit differently. So until I need it, I'm still going to do some work to it. I have an 034 EFI system on it that needs to be installed. I don't know. I did some work in the head. It should be a good engine. I'm running, 16 pounds of boost with CIS injection on the other one. This one will have the standalone on it, so it should be pretty good. What else can I show you? My shop is in the basement of my house, so that's kind of unique. Not too many setups like that, but some people have them. But this one is out in the country north of Toronto, and basically instead of a walkout, it's got basically a roll-up door instead of a sliding glass door, and extra height in the ceiling. So you can just drive a car right in, close the door, it's nice and warm. Just don't do any welding or cutting, and everybody will be happy. And I have a kind of a memorabilia area over here dedicated to motorsport I've been involved with my whole life. I have an actual R8 LMP1 fender up there from a Yost car that I was working on. I worked for Yost, helped them a couple of times, and that's one of Emanuele Piro's fenders when he lost it at Mosport. And he even signed it for me, which is kind of cool. And as we all probably have, Audi collection. Everybody likes diecasts, especially me, and models. And we slot car race down here with my son. It's been a lot of that going on lately, between that and virtual racing. And that's what keeps us happy up here, just playing around. Vintage truck, I hauled a vintage car with a vintage truck. That's an 88 Chevy. I've had it since brand new. And it gets as much attention out there as the car sometimes.
Yeah. So I got a couple of questions for you.
Absolutely.
So what sort of horsepower would the engine that you have in there, what sort of horsepower would that put out?
Well, it's never been dynoed, but we kind of calculated out to be around 230 to 40, somewhere around there, with that kind of boost. It has a lot of light and components inside too, plus port work and things like that. So between that and the boost that develops, it's maxed out on fuel with the CIS. So with the 034 standalone, it would probably develop more because you get more fuel, more flow, maybe a bigger turbo on it. It's not a priority because the car works well the way it is. But if I want to move up a class, I'd have to do it. But yeah, that's the horsepower I kind of figure it has. And it's good horsepower because it's the original transmission. We basically broke it under acceleration coming out of turn 5. That's what sent me on the new gear plan here. And, it feels great. And the car only weighs just over 2,000 pounds.
Wow.
So when you have the power to weight is pretty damn impressive for an old car. 944s, turbos, things like that in our class, I can beat most of them until they, you get up into the other classes where the cars are quite more exotic. But it's I guess a consistent all the time 1 minute 40-second car at Mosport. That's the class I'm in. And if I was to put slicks on it, you could probably drop it down another 2.5 seconds, maybe down into the high 130s, which moves it up a class.
Now, maybe I'm not sure that you did, but maybe you did. How long have you actually had this car?
I've had this car since 1986.
Okay.
And I bought it from the original owner. It didn't have any real kilometers on it. And I bought it as a street car. And then one thing led to another, and I was able to acquire the parts I needed to do the body work on it to make this project. I didn't intend to build a race car out of it. I had a Trans Am Corvette at that time, like a Trans Am or IMSA style Corvette. I sold that, and I was looking more at a career with Audi at that point. So I thought, maybe I'll keep this car and do something with it. So the opportunity was there, and I built it over a period of time, basically making everything on it myself and doing my own development on it. There's, back then there was nothing at all you could buy for these cars. There still really isn't. There's a few companies around that are doing Audi Quattro stuff that adapts, but back in the in the 80s and into the 90s, it was pretty limited what you could get.
Next up is Talia, Executive Secretary for the Board of Directors of the Audi Club of North America. She is down in the States and works for APR. It's always interesting to get together with Talia and hear her stories about APR and the products and shows and this and that and everything else. She's going to show us around 2 cars in her garage, hers and her fiance's. And tell us some stories.
Tell you a little bit about what I've got here. This is my 8V A3. Right now it's just APR stage 1 because I do want to keep compliant with emissions. You're going to have to forgive me. I got nailed by a deer the other day on my way to work, and that was about 6 weeks ago. So I have a really gnarly dent on the car, but
the deer.
Yeah, isn't that beautiful? It scared me like no other. It was kind of a terrifying moment. I thought I was going to dodge him, but he decided to slam the brakes as soon as I did. So unfortunately, I was not so lucky. Let's see. Haven't done much to it, like I said. Sorry, it's once again it's filthy in here. I've got our intake catch can. I've got stage 1 ECU and TCU. Obviously had to do the honeycomb upgrade because I think it's just really beautiful look. I've got the really filthy wheels. These are actually gunmetal, not this nice bronze tone you're looking at, as well as some APR brakes. They're the 6-pot ones, so they're awesome with these beautiful slotted rotors. And then I recently retrofitted. This is actually not officially on our website that fits, but I actually retrofitted I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see this. Can I turn a flash on? Is that a thing? Let's see. Nope, no flash. Okay, well, hold on a second. Let me see if I can find a flashlight real quick. I recently retrofitted our S3 exhaust onto the car. It took a little bit of fab work on the diffuser, which is why I currently don't have a diffuser. Oh, that's dead. Well, anyway, on the car though is the S3 catback exhaust. I did quad tips, and they're this really beautiful black. You can't see them, but they're gorgeous.
They look nice. You can get a.
Yeah, they look pretty good. Like I said, I don't have a diffuser on the car right now because I need to get one that will fit quad tips. Over here on the other side, the way more interesting one is the RS3, and this is my fiance's car. It's a little bit cooler than mine. He's got these gorgeous BC forged wheels on here that when they're clean, they've got a really nice flake to them. Kept the RS brakes. Other than that, he's got the full, everything else on this car you can put on APR wise. He's got the intercooler, mid pipes, intake, all the way from front to back on that inlet, and you name it. And obviously stage 1 ECU and TCU. So these are our babies.
I got a question for Talia. Have you considered for your black car getting it ceramic coated?
So I have. I've got a really good friend who has his own detail shop here in Atlanta, and he actually works with a company called Fine Labs. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. And he's done a lot of testing. One of his buddies actually works for, I'm going to forget the name of the company, but they're an engineering company in Atlanta, and they have, millions of dollars worth of equipment to test stuff. And they actually tested a bunch of different ceramic coating companies. And they came across that Fine Labs was not only the best, but they actually outperformed what they were even advertising as. So he actually took my car for a day to do some paint correction on it and to prepare it for the coating. And come to find out that unfortunately this car has been repainted a couple different times, apparently by whoever owned it before me. And he said the paint is just so thin and so bad that he's like, I don't think it will, I don't think I can get it down enough to properly coat. So he's like, I don't want to risk it. So unfortunately, I mean, I have like a really basic ceramic coat on it. Obviously, I'm not maintaining it, as you can see, because the car is filthy. I also actually, funny enough, I live in Atlanta, Georgia, but I commute 150 miles every day to Auburn, Alabama to go to APR. So trying to keep the car clean is really, really hard, because by the time I come home, I'm like, there's no way I'm wiping this thing down. And my weekends are precious. So unless I'm going to a show, this poor thing just collects all the grime, all the road grime.
I've had many black cars, and that's like I ended up getting mine ceramic coated, and I tell you, I swear by it. It's a 15-minute job, and it looks like you just waxed it all day. Right?
I love that.
Okay.
So up next, a little bit of a surprise. Go figure, it is my car. I had it running, backed it out of the carport, gave it a quick hose, thought, what the heck, the sun's all right, I'm gonna take some pictures of it. So let me introduce you to my Audi TT. It's Mark 1, 2002. A ALMS, American Le Mans Series car. There were only 1,000 made. They all came to North America. About 200 of them came to Canada. Half of the cars were red and half of the cars were silver. So have a look. My daily driver.
So this is my little baby. Audi TT 2002. ALMS. So it has the gray interior, gray and black interior with the fancy red exterior. Also came with the ALMS came with these wheels, which are common in Europe, but not so common here. Front clip extension, and it is missing the little bumperette, because I had a little accident with that. I've got it painted up and ready to go back on. The paint was supposed to get done this year, but that's not going to happen. So it's a little worse for wear, but I've tried to get everything else done. One of the things that the ALMS came with were decals, of all things. That was part of the trim package. I've had those reproduced. I'm a big Unitronic fan, so my license plate is my daughter's name spelt backwards. And shout out to Berlin Classic as well. Interior wise, pretty stock. You know, the usual wear and tear on a 19-year-old car. It does have a back seat. The gated shifter came from England, and if anybody's running a gated shifter, I'd love to know what you do for the cloth that goes in and underneath it. AEM boost gauge, usual stuff. And I'll show you what I've been doing while cooped up. I'll show you under the hood. So, lots going on here. New speed, obviously a new speed fresh air intake, whole bunch of forge pipes. I have an oil catch can here, which I really have come to love. Lots of red silicone heater hoses and things. I've got just put in these braided nylon lines for the catch can. That was a bit of fun, but once you figure out how to put those fittings on, it's not too bad. Oh, Tom Christensen, who was the ALMS champ in 2002. I met him at a show down in Washington, and he was so kind to sign the intake manifold, so that's his signature on there. Fussed and put in some braided lines for the fuel, and I have a new valve cover coming. R8 coils, that sort of stuff, all the usual stuff there. I'm told that these new speed tower caps are rare, and I've had several people offer to buy them from me. Forge valve there, as I say, sort of the usual stuff. I'll see if you can see it here. I did change the motor mounts and tranny mounts to semi-solid while it was here. The interesting thing was, when I took this side off, you have to support the engine, obviously. When I took the old one off of the OEM one off of this side and I put this in, I had to lift the engine a good half an inch. The old one had sagged that much. But usual problem with the headlights. If somebody's got a line on who sells just the covers, I'd love to get a pair. Did the brakes, big brakes on them, well, bigger brakes. That's fine, happy with that too. And it has, now here's a question for you. Let me close the hood. So this car, with that front clip on it, let's get a good look at the front clip. There's the front clip, and it's red, obviously. Didn't have these wheels on it. Did have this lower valance on it with the Rombatus tuning thing on it. And it has this kind of funky wing on the back. It's not the standard one. I've grown to like it. Remus exhaust. There you go. Remus exhaust. This car came from Montreal. It's originally an Ontario car, but it's been in Montreal for most of its life. I just got it this December and brought it back. If you happen to recognize this car at all, I would really appreciate you letting me know who the owners were. I don't have a problem. I've just got some questions about modifications that have been done to the engine. I'd really love to figure out, and I'm sure there's a story behind it. I took probably a good-sized beach pail, kid's beach pail of sand out of the back of this as I was cleaning it up and getting it all set. And I'm sure there's a story behind that. Wouldn't mind hearing it. Anyway, those are the winter tires. I've got a nice set of BBS Michelins coming, 19 inches. Those will be going on about the end of May. And there you go. If you happen to be a TT Mark I person, if you can explain to me how to get these damn little rubber things to fit properly, or what the trick is for them, I'd sure love to hear from you. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. That's my little daily driver, summer and winter. All kinds of fun.
After the guests are done showing their cars and caves and things, often a number of people will stay on and have a lively conversation about what's going on, things they've done, telling some stories. And here's Donna, TT owner, had a great experience over at Queensway Audi.
Yeah, no, it's just let's see, how did I get in on this? Oh, somehow I got in on a TT WhatsApp chat, and I bought my car through Queensway Audi. And then my son, the day I picked up my car, my son got hired as a lot attendant, so that was kind of a win. It was nice. And then, so, I've been sort of friendly with the dealership, and they have this beautiful, what do you call it, like a balcony on top. It's just really lovely. So I said, hey, can I host a little bit of a car meet at the dealership? And they're like, yeah, for sure. So anyways, this is just 8 of the cars. I think we had about 12 at one point. And then we just said, hey, and they actually cleared the whole front of the car dealership for us so we could have all these TTs there. So it was really fun. And then we just set up the car. And as you can see, did a pretty good job. And it was a lot of fun. So, and then we went for dinner after, and, it was just sort of a kickoff. Last July we did it. Yeah.
You said it was Queensway?
Yeah, Queensway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know if you guys have seen the new dealership. They've got the new design, like the new flagship style.
What year's your TT, Dawn?
Mine's 19.
19?
Yeah, mine's the turbo blue. So it's which one? That one.
Nice.
And I had a 16 TTS before this one.
I've been driving my heel sweat on the wheel. Voice in my head that drives my heat.